This is a review of the Bruce Williams YouTube watch channel. I hate Bruce. Maybe Bruce started out as a poor orphaned child and amassed a fortune to buy an expensive watch collection through genius and hard work. But he comes off as a trust fund baby who spends a lot of time playing golf. I hate Bruce's fake, salesman-like smile that's always plastered on his face. I hate the corporate-esque enthusiasm he imbues in his watch reviews like he's Steve Jobs plugging a product. I hate Bruce's hairstyle. It looks like he has a chia pet growing out of his head. Isn't Bruce a little too old for this? I hate that Bruce is a watch bro, an exclusive clique of YouTube watch guys who are watch buddies or at least connected in some way. Most of all, what I hate about Bruce is that he's a rich guy who has not only a collection of high-end watches that would allow one to live in watch bliss for 100 lifetimes, but he has an unquenchable thirst for even more watches. I've watched Bruce on and off for a while, not so much because I enjoy watching Bruce, but because I want to get a sense of what rich guys are thinking in the watch world. Recently, I noticed something weird on Bruce's channel. Bruce was introducing not only his watch collection, but his entire family. What was going on? Was Bruce on the brink of announcing a run for Senate? No, this first family video was part of a PR campaign to announce what I'll call version 2.0 of his channel. Ironically, Bruce's wife and one of his kids didn't seem terribly enthusiastic in his first family PR video. I'm blocking the images of Bruce's kids because I don't believe in exploiting children for any purpose. Shortly after publishing Bruce's first family PR video, Bruce made the announcement of Bruce 2.0 in his "I'm going full-time on YouTube" big channel announcement video. The details left by Bruce on this video about his version 2.0 channel were ambiguous. In version 2.0, you pay a $6 a month Patreon membership. It wasn't clear to me what one gets for this $6 a month Patreon membership. I'll probably buy a membership later down the road and do a review of Bruce 2.0, but for now, I'll be talking about the classic version 1.0 Bruce Williams channel. While I hate Bruce, I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Bruce makes a lot of watch buying information videos for rich guys. I'm unable to find the exact video, but Bruce had done a video about an experience buying a high-end watch. I think it might have been his green Rolex Submariner, and the dealer had tried to screw him by saying he had to buy another watch in addition to the watch he wanted in order to get the watch that he wanted. Bruce ended up not falling for the dealer's tricks and getting the watch he wanted. This is very valuable information for any rich guy or guy who is buying watches out of his league, who doesn't want to get screwed. Bruce has a lot of good buying advice for rich guys. What I like best about Bruce is that he really knows his stuff. For example, in his Orient Kamasu watch review, a review that I didn't think was very good that I'll discuss later, he was able to name names of higher end dive watches whose bezels felt like what the Kamasu felt like. I also reviewed the Kamasu. I remember the bezel of this watch as being good, but I don't have nearly the experience with watches to make highly granular comparisons like Bruce can. My watch review god, another rich guy who at least looks like he has a job, has a YouTube channel called Watch Hobbyist. Watch Hobbyist, like Bruce, did a review of the Omega Seamaster. Both made really good observations that not all reviewers make about this watch, which is that the edges of the links of the new Seamaster are rough. This is really important information. Based on this information, a guy like me is never going to buy a watch like the Omega Seamaster. Not that I'd ever have the money to buy this watch anyway. While Watch Hobbyist comes right out and tells you that there's an issue with the edges of the links of the Seamaster in plain English, Bruce resorts to a cryptic corporate doublespeak when describing the issue. He doesn't just come out and say the edges are too rough. Bruce says, quote, "The edges are sharper than other omegas," unquote. And then he wraps the issue up by referring to it as a, quote, "borderline hotspot," unquote. This is typical Bruce, soft pedaling and cloaking issues in corporate doublespeak. Bruce reviews a lot of loaners from watch shops. Even when he doesn't say it's a loaner, you get the sense it's a loaner from someone because some of the plastic is still on the watch. Bruce at least sizes the loaners. Aside from conflicts of interest, one big issue with loaners from dealers is that you often don't get the chance to really wear and live with the watch in order to get a more in-depth feel of the watch. However, the act of sizing a watch and putting the watch on your wrist does give one a lot of useful information about the watch. There are clowns on YouTube who, in order to keep the watch they're reviewing in new condition, don't even size their bracelets and attempt to pass these reviews off as real reviews. I reviewed the international version of the Kamasu. Bruce reviewed the Japanese domestic market version of this watch. The two watches are nearly identical. I think it's a bad idea for Americans to both review and promote JDM watches for reasons I won't get into here, but I know why Bruce chose the JDM version. It was because he had an arrangement with the watch dealer in Japan to review the watch and plug the dealer in exchange for a free watch. Orient has somewhat of a fanboy following. There's an unwritten law that one cannot get too negative about this brand, and I was the only person on YouTube who had the balls to call this watch out as a piece of crap. I find it comical that a relatively big player like Orient makes bracelets that are so awful that another company, Strapcode, has seized on this and developed an aftermarket bracelet for the Kamasu. There is a fair consensus among reviewers that the Kamasu's bracelet is oversized and crap, which is my opinion. But where I differ from other reviewers is that I believe the bracelet is a vital part of the watch. If the bracelet sucks, the Kamasu must therefore get a fail. Everyone else gives the Kamasu a pass. It's simply too dangerous for them to give the Kamasu too much criticism. God forbid they rub someone the wrong way. You might not be able to make it as a watch whore if you do that. The bracelet is not the only failure of the Kamasu. The placement and size of its crown is a deal breaker as well. Bruce didn't even mention the issue with the crown, but he did have this to say about the bracelet. He said it was, quote, "adequate," unquote. It's, quote, "comfortable, it's decent, but it doesn't quite cut it for me," unquote. For such an adequate bracelet, the end link of Bruce's Kamasu sure seems to fit like crap. And if the bracelet is so comfortable, why did he do so much of his review with the watch on his own mesh bracelet? Again, this is a case of corporate doublespeak and soft pedaling. He probably knows the entire watch sucks, but to give the information that the consumer truly needs in plain English jeopardizes his future bribery payoffs from other potential dealers and watchmakers, as well as ruptures the fragile egos of fanboys. Bruce goes on to say in his Kamasu review that the dealer, quote, "did gift me this watch so that I can present it," but hopefully you guys have seen throughout the course of this video that I've been objective and measured in praising it, as well as talking about the negative aspects, unquote. The very nature of receiving a free watch precludes one from being objective. Saying you're objective is mere verbal trickery. PR people do this all the time. Bruce has a lot of experience with watches and a lot of watch buying wisdom to offer rich guys and rich guy wannabes. I'm hoping that Bruce 2.0 will be a better product than Bruce 1.0. My hope is that Bruce gets paid enough from his Bruce 2.0 venture that it will at least reduce his need to soft pedal and whore himself.